Is this the one which I use?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thanks everyone for coming. I think this is one of our biggest Saturday schools. Traveling in Bangalore is not easy. So, you guys made it. If you have come from like Whitefield, kudos to you. So when we were talking about Saturday school, the topic which I personally had was tech stack of game development, which was like more technical. But then Akash suggested that in India we have so much talent in different areas, but in game development we are still having that issue of not finding so much talent. And if you divide India in like multiple categories, you have T1, T2, T3, right? And the awareness of career in game development, especially in T2 and T3 cities, is still not that much. So they suggest like, hey, why don't I talk about career in game development? And I said, actually that is very relative to what we want, and that's also very relevant to our industry because we want Indian game industry to grow a lot. Now, it was a little bit tricky for me to prepare this talk because most of you are already in game development, right? And I actually met Mithil, who is just in 10th class, and he is very curious about game development because his father is in cinematic, lighting in movies and all. This talk is actually also for people who have some idea about game development. Either they are playing some games, they are curious, okay, how to make games, and is there even a career option in games. So I would try to make it useful for everyone, for people who are already in game development. For them, it's like, how do you become great? Because India is still in a very initial state of gaming industry, and I feel this is just a start. And some of the games I saw, like, you showed me one game, like, looks super amazing, man. So this is just start of our industry, and we are going to build great games. So my journey of what I believe, how we can be better, and then also some basics of game development. All right, and let's make it a little bit more interactive because you guys might also have insights in game development. So just treat this video as somebody watching this after 6 months, in some village or small city, and also learning from it. So if I miss some points, just ask me a question, or if you have some point, just raise your hand and talk about it, because let's make this very useful for everybody. Okay, so I'll tell you one story, and what the story I'm going to tell you is relevant, because I feel if I had just bullet points of like, hey, do this, do this, do this, and it's like very boring, right? So I know some people. I know somebody who started career in game development, and how that person landed there. That I feel most of the people in India would have similar journey. So I know someone who is from a very small village, studied in village till 12th, then went to a very basic college in a small city, landed up, did a small diploma course from another city, and just let me just share the image of that. So this is the house of that person. This person lived in this house till 17 year of age. There's a village in MP called Katha. He did BSc most of you would know. It's not engineering, it's 3-year course. Did CDAC from Pune. After that, co-founded a company in 2009 called June. Many people know Super Gaming. Did Y Combinator in 2012, winter batch. YC, some of you might know. It's an incubator program. Then started LILA Games in 2020. So that's me. So that's that's my journey, and I didn't do anything. So what I believe is, if I can do it, many people can do it in India. And recently, I think you guys might also know that India surpassed China in terms of population. Now we are number one in the world in terms of population. The other interesting fact is almost 50% of our population is below 30. I don't know the facts, but around that number. So imagine so much potential we have in terms of talent, intellectual, and people who are not even aware of it, like they have that talent. Because when I was living in that house, I didn't know. And it is like 2004, 2005. I didn't have a smartphone, no internet. So the only newspaper was my access. And I still believe even, smartphones are like have very deep penetration in India. The awareness might not be there, but the talent is there. There are so many talented people in India, and in next 10 years, I believe in every aspect, not only in gaming, we are going to do great. So let's make sure that we learn, we share, and we become what we can become together. Yes. All right. So how did I become a game developer? So as you know my journey, I didn't play games. So I only played cricket, as most of the Indian audience. So one thing I was very interested into is math and physics. So when I picked up programming was very natural to me. Like, okay, this is how you solve problems. And when I started my first company in 2009, it was early days of smartphones. So build lots of apps, um, and Mike is also from initial days of app stores. I knew Mike even before meeting Mike, because they used to make games which were always in like top grossing category, because only there were two categories, free and paid. And I will see like Mafia Wars, and there's so many games. These guys doing something. So small world, right? I'm now working with Mike here. Then we transitioned to making educational games. So and throughout this time I was just coding. We felt like like when iPad came out, we thought like this is a very good device for education. We tried that, but we couldn't make money because we didn't know how to make money. From there, that's the point where we got into Y Combinator, because they also believed in the similar concept, like these devices are going to play an important role in education, so somebody will figure it out, and there are companies who have figured it out. Then I built a multiplayer game called Ninja Dash. So there was a IP Ninja, jump, jump, jump. So I made a 4-player platformer multiplayer in 2013 or something. That's where I personally got into multiplayer, and the kind of experience multiplayer games give. Because as a game designer or as a developer, you don't have to set all experiences for players. Players together make the experience, and that was like really powerful. And that's where I thought like, hey, I'm only going to work on multiplayer games. So in 2015, I also helped my previous startup build a shooter called Mass Gun. Very early days, lots of learning there. Then I met Paul and JK, and we started LILA Games. And the foundation was very, very similar as what I talked about. Like we all aspire to build a great company out of India. Like JK's belief is he also believes in the potential of people here and the aspiration we all have to make great games. And actually, three gentlemen here, they have worked on games which have made more than $1 billion individually, a single game. So they bring that expertise here. So we believe that it's going to happen. Okay. And one of our investors recently told us that there is going to be a company, a game made out of India, which is going to gross more than $1 billion. So it's going to happen. When, we don't know, but we are also trying to do that. And I also believe like there is going to be a game which is going to be $1 billion game from India. It could be your game also, by that. So let's move a little bit towards the career side of game development. So in India, we know that when you were in school, there were some choices which everybody imposes upon, right? Hey, choose maths, choose science, choose medical, because there are better career options. And many people do that. We don't think about our interest, but we think about the job. Like, hey, is this have more probability of getting job? Games is also very similar. So what I would say, don't choose gaming if you are just choosing it for the career. You will have more chances of success in games if you first of all love games, and you can understand what kind of emotions game provides to player. That's the basic of career. If you don't have that, just try to get there. It's not important that, hey, I love games. I used to not love video games because I didn't have access to it, but now I love mobile games especially. So try to find that niche so that you can connect with it, and you will have more chances of success. All right, moving next. Loss of text, don't focus there. I'll just talk about it. Indian game industry. So as most of you know, that India is a mobile first country. Like, not many people have access to, console, PC and all. So, PUBG and all these games do really well in mobile. The quality of games is getting better. Like today only I saw, even there's one more developer who showed us his game, I think 6-7 months back in one of Saturday schools. And today I saw his game is better than before. So, the quality of games is becoming better. Now, India is not only a Teen Patti or Ludo game industry, although many companies are still doing that, but there are companies who are trying like really ambitious games. External talent with experience is coming in, like these guys. They bring so much experience which can expedite our process of being successful. Like, you will never be successful just like that. You will learn, you will fail, then you will succeed. Like, okay, I should maybe not do this. These guys have done that. They have learned from people who failed to succeed. So there is no shortcut to success. The only way we can do it is like learn from people. So that's what we are trying to do at Lila. Bring experts, learn from them, and build a world-class game from India. Local and global focus. Like we are not only making games for India, we are making games for world. Internal, external investments. Maybe you guys are not aware, but gaming in India is hot. Like, people want to put money if you are building a game. So it's not that you have to build games out of your pocket. Maybe initially, but if you do something great, there are more chances of getting investments. Outsourcing, everybody knows. There's outsourcing is a big segment of Indian gaming industry right now, especially in art, also coming in development. Cost structure advantage. Some countries are still very competitive to India, but still we have more cost structure advantage in India. Building a game in India is still cheaper than building it in West, and large pool of young talent. All of you. All right. So what kind of career are we talking about? So now I'm drifting more towards career. So be with me. If you have any points, just share. So if people didn't know, gaming industry is the biggest form of entertainment in terms of revenue. So if we talk entertainment, we talk about like movies and music. So based on the numbers I have seen, gaming is bigger than movies and music combined. So it's not just an industry for fun. It's an industry where actually which is making money. And this is going to grow. So like I think the numbers right now are around 200 billion something, and it's just growing. And if we talk about gaming, then you have to talk about platforms, because gaming, when you think, is not only mobile, not only PC. It's like console, AR, VR, television, or any other tech you build. People always need games, some sort of games. Even cavemen figured out to play games, right? So no matter what technology what AI technology you bring, you will always have games. So games will always exist regardless of the platform. Okay, so now let's talk about the foundation. And I wrote this presentation like 2 days back, and then I was thinking about my own education and every college we go through. The first year of your college is foundation, where no matter which discipline you choose, the first year is same, right? Everybody has to do maybe programming, everybody has to do some management course, which most of the people hate. Like, I'm in engineering, why I'm learning management? But there is a reasoning behind it, and I strongly believe after being able to start companies, being able to have so many people, that foundation is very, very important. And what I mean by foundation is fundamental understanding of things. So no matter which discipline you are, you have to know basic maths. And the simple source of learning maths is Khan Academy. There are lots of other sources, but even if you are QA, designer, engineer, of course, product, basic maths, don't shy away. And there are so many visual tools to learn math. Basic programming and game engine. If you are into game development, Unity, Unreal make it very easy for you. So no matter which discipline you are, you have to know basic programming. No code is another option. You can go there, but learn game engine. Art tools like Photoshop, Blender, Maya. This is a very strong belief we have in our engineering team. So when I was interviewing, somebody asked me like, what do you actually look for in an engineer? So first thing, I always look for fundamental concepts. Like in Unity, even if you know few things, you know them fundamentally very right. Because I don't want people to Google search and write code, but I want people who can come up with solutions, right? So that's why the other thing I felt, and like programmers who knew art tools are better programmers. So one of our developer actually started career as artist, then became developer. So whenever you talk about 3D model or something, he can visualize. Like, okay, you be wrapping out this way. Okay, low poly, you can improve your low poly by this thing. So as an engineer also, that's very helpful. So no matter which discipline, learn art tools. You don't have to be great. Just build some crappy stuff in art tools. Game design concepts. Everybody's game designer. Then engineers start thinking, I'm a game designer. I can suggest you some ideas. So it's very important. Learn game design concepts. Scrum and project management. We have a book, and JK recommended me in the start, like in the initial when we started, read Essential Scrum, and that was very helpful. So Essential Scrum, if you remember the name, download, get that book and learn about project management. Because if your planning is bad, your execution is going to be bad. So planning is very important. All right. So this is my fundamental belief: is reading equals to awareness, building equals to mastery. So many people have the habit of just reading, being aware, and that's why they can talk really well, right? But you don't want to. It's good to start with, but you want to be master of things, and mastery can only be achieved by building. So even if you're writing a blog, write a blog. That will make you master. Just not just by consuming all the information on internet. So just remember this: reading is just not enough. Build. Okay. So far, anyone, any questions, anything? Is it fun? All right. I have. Yes.
Would you be covering how AI would impact game development later, or is it something you can discuss?
So I have a little bit on the tools, but that's more of a question. So you can ask me that question.
Yeah, I'd love to know what do you think how AI will impact game development in terms of 2D asset creation, 3D asset creation, and how do you think that will reduce the time that it takes to create assets? How do you think it will increase the quality, but at the same time reduce the cost? Can you give me a bit about that? Have you used AI in your company to create assets?
Okay, so I'll give you the real answer, which we are doing right now. I believe gaming adopts technology very fast. and most of the technological innovations start from gaming. So AI is going to be involved in game development in multiple areas. And to us, we are using AI a little bit. So like in engineering, recently I started using Copilot, which is internally powered by ChatGPT and some more systems there. We are experimenting with like Mid Journey, just creating initial concepts. When game designers think about some crazy idea, instead of artists spending time, we just Google, use AI to just create those initial concepts. For bots, it's very interesting topic, especially for bots, because we are building a mobile game, and if you just ship the model on the device, it's going to consume CPU a lot. So that's why you have to go with like some cloud solution, which is not very efficient for a shooter game. So we are also investigating how we can use AI on that front to make our AI smarter.
I'm asking more in terms of generative AI, not the
So
AI which is used
Copilot in a way is a generative AI
Okay.
for development. It's very powerful. Like if you guys have not used Copilot, use it.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. So for people who are very new to game development, you guys already know. I'll just quickly walk through the different disciplines of game development where you can make a career. So when you think about art, art is very very vast. I would say like in a gaming company, maybe art is the biggest team if you are building a 3D game or something like that. So you have 3D art, 2D art, animation, VFX. Inside 3D art, you have like character, environment. So there are people who are just character 3D artists, environment 3D artists. In UI, there are UI artists, UX artists, concept artists. In animation also, you have animators, and you also have technical animators. So there is an overlap between engineering and animation as well. Again, there are also specializations inside that. VFX, audio, another big area. So lots of career options in art. Design, very high level. If you guys know any other roles in design, so feature designer who builds the feature, system designer who designs the economy, goes deeper, has to know maths very well. Level designer, designs the level, should be very good with gameplay understanding, and also very fast with the game engine and tools. Anything else in game design you guys feel? UI UX, yes. Yep. What is it? Narrative design? Yep. Sure. Product, product manager, project manager, producer. Sometimes people might confuse these roles, but they have, when you go in depth, they are very important roles to make your game successful. So I'll actually move forward. Engineering, closer to me. You have game developers who just, on the client side developer, you have backend developer, which is a very generic role, very similar to like any other aspects of game development. Graphics programmer, very niche to game development. Like the one, graphics programmers are basically people who don't know, is responsible for rendering. So, shaders, all those sort of things comes under graphics programmer. Tech art, again, an overlap between engineering and art. So they also write shaders, but then there could be art oriented technical artists and programming oriented technical artists. Very vast role. Okay, so those were the areas that I think that I passed very fast through that. But people who don't have understanding of that thing, ask me questions. What are the other roles? But very easy to understand. You can ask that to anybody in game industry. But game industry is, oh, actually I missed that. Apart from those roles, anything needed for running a company are also in game development. So the HR, admin, accounting, all those roles also exist in game development. So even if you're not in gaming, game development does offer those roles, and they are very important for any company to be successful. Okay. So if you are just starting out, mm, so this slide I wrote after reading a book called The Build. So I have quoted that book in the next slide. This is especially for people who wants to be better. Doesn't only apply for people who are just starting your career. So if you want to learn, when you are searching for a job, optimize for learning. So generally, especially in India, we have seen, and I have seen, because once when I started my first company, I was hanging out with my friend, and her mom asked me, so what do you do? So I said, I make games. So she, my daughter, she works in MNC, so much work. So, but you guys make games, you must be playing games, like it's so easy. So I'm like, yeah. So people still optimize for company names, MNC and all. But if you're just starting your career, optimize for learning. Get to know what project that company is working on. And now startups and companies are very open to even talk about what areas of that particular role you are going to work on. So when in engineering, if you ask me, I can list you down, okay, these are the specific areas where you will work on. So just be curious, choose a company, preferably join a startup. So this is not the like 100% true, because in startups are small, so you have more opportunity to contribute more, because in a team of 10 you have more areas of responsibility. But that doesn't mean big companies don't provide that opportunity. So even if you go to a big company, just drill down, try to find what project, what I said, what are the people you are going to work with, because most of your learning will come from your peers. So see who are there, connect with them on LinkedIn, even ask them questions even before joining that organization, like, hey, what do you do, search their profile and those sort of things. So startups, but wherever you go, just try to optimize for learning. So this is a book called Build, written by Tony Fidel. He is the one. He helped create iPod, iPhone. Really famous guy in Silicon Valley. So this is from his book. Like, so when you are looking for area of potential career options, start with what do I want to learn, not how much money I want to make, what title I want, because some people go for, hey, I want a lead programmer, I want like lead artist, like title should come later. If you are a lead artist, you are a lead artist, right? By your work, not by your title. What company has enough recognition so that I can tell my mom like my story, like our friend mom was very proud of her because she was in MNC, and she looked down upon me because I was in a startup. So those are just tags. Okay, so related to both experience or junior, keep up with innovations. So game industry, as you guys know, is very fast moving. So even if you have 10 years of experience, and if you like, if I'm interviewing you, I'll never look at your experience. I'll always look at what you do right now, what do you know right now. And that's very important in game development. You cannot use Unity 2018 or Unreal's older version to make a game right now, right? You have to be good at Unreal 4. You have to know Unreal 5. You have to know what's going on in Unity 2023, right? What kind of animation tools are being built. Like if you're just limiting yourself to Maya, there is like Cascadier, there is like Deep Motion. Can you use those tools? So keep up yourself with the innovation. Don't be dinosaur, because game industry moves very fast. With innovation, their expectation increases. The kind of games they're playing right now, if you build a game like which feels like 5 years old, you have no chance. So chance of success reduces in every aspect. And how do you do that? So solo learning is very hard, by the way. So always surround yourself with people who know more than better, or who might know things which you don't know. So like this talk, and that's what we believe, that we want to create a platform where we also get to learn from you, and whatever we learn through our experience, because learning through experience is the way, which we can share with you. So no, attend talks, they are not waste of time. Maybe you are hanging out in the corner feeling very shy. I used to be that guy. I used to not believe in like talks, meeting developers and all, because I'm like, but they create an opportunity for learning. So be part of groups, meet more smart developers, just be uncomfortable. Education and learning sources. So quickly I put this through. College with development courses, most of you might agree, disagree. Even I'm like, that's not the only way to get into game development. But I was talking to Varun, one of our like star game designers. So he went to a gaming college, and I asked him like, so did you learn? So he said that when he went to game development college, it was an opportunity to just get into game development. So same way with any other college. Like I have seen people, IIT is like one of the toughest to get in, right? So I have seen people who learned more to prepare for IIT than actually being in IIT. So same with any course. Like in game development, college is not the must, but if you get into it, it's not bad, because then you have more chances of being around with people who wants the same thing. But the best resources I still find are GDC talks, especially the game postmortems. Because when people have done something and then they share that, hey, we use this is a render pipeline, this is what we learned, that's actually a factual learning. So there's very good resources of learning, research papers, video tutorials, all of game jams. Venkat just showed me his game he built in game jam, like superb. Like in 2 days, what you learned, you might have not learned, in many weeks, right? And the last most important is build yourself. So it's the point which I had discussed. Reading is awareness, building is mastery. So keep building, even if you are 15 years of experience, great manager, but build prototypes on the side. Over the weekend, just download new version of Unity or Unreal, just build something. Otherwise, you'll not be relevant. Okay, common problems we have seen, and JK, in this you can also talk a little bit about what you feel can help people to be better and to be always relevant. During our interviews, we have seen people want to be manager very fast. So I have interviewed engineers who have 4 years of experience, and they said, "Yeah, I'm a team lead. I manage like 5 people." So my next question is like, "How much hands-on do you do?" So they're like 70-30. But that's not the representation of success in your career. Like you should not aspire to be a manager. Management very important for the success of project and all. But as your career option to be better, think about it. Never, even if you're a manager, don't leave hands-on. Like even if you're a project manager, you have to be good at your tools, whatever you use, Jira, ClickUp, Google Sheets, or whatever. Losing touch on hands-on work is never good. So no matter what position you are, you have to be hands-on the things which make your job successful, or the people who you are leading, they are using those tools, you have to be hands-on them. And mediocre understanding of tools. So if you just know a bunch of things, it's not enough. Like go deep, like just try to do complex things using those tools. JK, you have?
Sure. Hey guys, so just to maybe follow on to Avinash's point, I think having done so many interviews here in India now, and having talked to so many people in the games industry in India, I do feel like a couple of the problems that were mentioned here, and maybe I'll add one more, are very relevant. And to the first point, it is this importance of like not just becoming a manager, not just being focused on your title, but really being focused on the work that you're doing. And if you don't, and this is the common problem that I've seen, is that there are a lot of people who I interview, and what I have found that's very, very strange is that sometimes when I would interview a lead or a director or an EP, they're actually worse than the younger people. And I wondered why that is. And it's to the point that Avinash raised, which is that there's so many people here who don't love what they do, but they want the title, they want the responsibility, they want the salary. And so they try to move up as fast as possible, and they don't care so much about the work, but they care about, I have 5 people under me, I have 10 people under me. And then their work doesn't become focused on the mastery or the subject matter. It becomes more about, directing all these reports. And I think that's a mistake. And I don't think anyone can be a great manager if you don't understand the work very deeply that you're working on. And I would say the one other big problem that I see is really an understanding of fundamentals and why. So with many of the interviews that I have conducted, I have noticed this pattern where, and because I also think that there is a legacy here in India, right, where we've had, whether it's Zynga or Glue or EA, where you've had titles from the West kind of on decline brought to India. And so the recipe, the formula has been figured out. And then there's like a recipe book. Here's what you guys do. I don't mean to demean anyone, but like what I'm saying is that the history or the practice, the discipline of building something new and understanding why has not been there with many people that we've interviewed. I'm not saying it's not there for everybody. I'm just saying that there's a general pattern. And so, often what I will ask a lot of the people that we interview is, why do you do things in a certain way? And they don't know. Why do you have structured your Scrum in a certain way? Why is it 2 weeks, not 1 week or 3 weeks? How do you do your costing? Why? And this fundamental question of why is not as prevalent as it should be. And so that's the question that I think, if the Indian games development ecosystem is going to advance, if it's going to become better, if it's going to be able to compete on a global stage with China and the US and Turkey and China, we have to have a better culture, a better kind of approach and way of thinking, where it's like, why are we doing it this way? And can there be a better way? So those are two of the problems that I've seen.
You guys have any questions? Oh yeah.
Regarding the question that you asked about why people do certain things a certain way, I really got an answer that satisfied you, here at least.
Hey, Joseph, can you repeat his question?
Yeah, the question was, in terms of the question why, and having someone who I have interviewed that has given me a good answer on why. Well, I mean, we've hired a few people. We've got, we do have a lot of people here are learners. I do think like, so in general, no, we do have a couple folks who we have hired that are more like that, not fully there, but now that they're here, in some cases they're questioning me, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know. So like, yeah, I think it's like once you understand that way of thinking, I think that becomes very critical to improving everything. And I do think they're here. I do think there are a number of people who think that way, or you can be trained to be thought that way. But it's just a shift in thinking that can absolutely be taught.
All right. So this is the last slide I have. He'll first look, he looks like really, buffed. But if you look at his legs, he's like, he missed his legs there, So, so what I'm trying to say through that image is the mindset to keep getting better. What Joseph is also talking about is very important. And one of the ways I have found to work on things is work on your weakest parts first. Like you guys must have heard it, but consciously it's very hard to apply that in your learning. We always try to just be very good at what we do, but we always avoid things which we are not good at that. And this talk is one of those things for me, because I feel I'm not very good speaker. And when I see in school, I was like, backbencher, like, don't call me. I'm doing this talk to be better, to be able to speak better, to be able to communicate and connect with you better. So I'm working on my weakest part. And I think that's how we can overcome things which we are not good at. And also do things which makes you uncomfortable. So generally we avoid, like, for some people, events are boring. Internal reason could be they just don't find it very easy to talk to people, right? But just get through that barrier, and then you will discover that, hey, actually this was not waste of time. Actually you connected with some people and you got something meaningful out of it. um, Treat challenges as opportunity. So when you see a challenge, don't run away. Challenges are opportunities. Again, a very high level talk, but I have real life examples of this. Like where I am right now is because of the opportunities I got because of the challenges I faced. And don't fear failure. We all fail. Even at Lila, we have so many challenges. Like even now, like today also we are going to discuss lots of challenges, but we are not afraid. And I'm just to close this talk, what I'm going to say is, you have seen where I'm coming from, right? So I have confidence that I'm going to succeed no matter what. And I believe in India most of the people have that confidence. So we might be underdogs, but use that to your advantage. Not knowing is not the reason for failure. Not knowing, you can make it positive, and you can make it reason for success. So just work hard, do things which makes you uncomfortable, connect with better people, don't be afraid of asking, and just have this mindset of getting better, and we all will succeed in some way in our lives. All right, so that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Subodip. I make games with NVIDIA and RDS. So my question is, like these days, like earlier in the last 1 or 2 years, there was a lot of hype about Web3 and metaverse. So what would be your advice? Like in the future, like should we focus on building Web3 games or metaverse games, or we should look elsewhere? Like what would be your advice for us in India?
So, yeah. So he's asking, there's lots of buzz and interest going on in like metaverse, AR, VR, different industries, right? How, as a game developer, how do you choose which areas you build games for, right?
I asked you whether I should go for Web3 or
Yes.
something else.
Yes. And what areas should you target? So the way I would look at it, I would look at whom I'm building the games for, who is my target audience. Because games at the end, that's the first thing I said, games at the end provide emotions and experience to players, right? If I have some idea and I know that AR or VR is the only way to provide that experience, or that increases the chances of providing that particular idea's experience better, I would build an AR VR game. If I'm building for mobile and I know, like, hey, in India people play lots of shooter games, they get really great experience, I would actually build that for AR VR for mobile. So I would think from players point of view rather than following a buzz, because as a game developer I would optimize things for players experience than some new buzzword in the market. You guys can also contribute.
Yeah, I have to say something.
Yeah.
I was actually asked a question today by this gentleman over here, and he said, do you think like short media content like TikTok and Instagram is gonna be more popular than video games? And should we still work on video games if this big trend? And I said, if I was a country singer and I made country music with a guitar, and you came up to me and asked me, should you consider hip hop because it's way more trendy? And maybe you should actually learn to sing like R. Kelly or some R&B. I would probably say I'm gonna make country music even if it doesn't pay me, that I'm just gonna do this no matter what. And so I would work on games even if it didn't pay. Even if it didn't pay, I'd still work on games. And that in itself is probably a better direction to move than any other direction. Working with Mike, he was the first person who employed me. And when I went into the studio to work on the games, everything was just so much fun. We didn't really build towards a trend. There were things that were trending that were just fun for us. And so we worked on those fun things that happened to also be kind of trendy. And so what can you show up every day and suffer through, even if it didn't pay you? And that would be a really good thing to ask yourself, because you might not make any money in games. I mean, hey, go write the next Harry Potter today. Hey, go make the next Ed Sheeran song. Hey, how do we make an Ed Sheeran song? Oh, we got to start the music at 4 seconds. There's got to be a good bridge. What's the best chorus? Oh, we need a really clever chorus. What's the good hook? How do we boil down all the best trendy hooks to make a good hook for our song? And who the hell wants to make a song like that? I just want to come and make some music. Show up at your company and work for you, and you start telling me, hey, man, we need to make something good. Oh, yeah, well, let's get started. And you go, wait. What's really trending? And you're like, I don't know. What do we love making? And you're like, no, let's not do that. Let's make whatever's good. And next thing you know, you're like dressing me in a rap outfit, and I'm like, yo, dude, what's up? Blah. It's just not me. You know what I'm saying? So you got to play a little bit to your strength, but there is opportunity as well. Like, I like shooter games. Avinash has built shooter games before. Joseph can probably manage any type of game that there is. We all have some common strengths. We think they're funny and mischievous. You can grief people, laugh at people. There's opportunity to be, some monetization there. So let's try to figure it out. And so regardless of the trends, what can you show up every day and sort of suffer for and suffer through? Because there'll always be a little bit of pain. Because, you wake up Saturday and you might have to get back to work. So what can you get back to work for? For me, I don't want to wear a VR helmet, right? And I'm saying every day, personally. I think it looks kind of goofy for me. I think there's some great VR games, but I don't really want to explore VR art, VR stuff. I think it's just kind of goofy. And even if there was a huge market for VR, and Joseph was like, Paul, we're going VR, man. What's the game? I'd be like, I don't know. I got to figure this out. And I would probably look for something that made me smile. I'd be like, what if and then once you get that, like, what's the VR game? And you're like killing fish, and it's like freaking fruit ninja fish game or something like that, And then, maybe that will help you out, because to fly to India, to come here and say goodbye to the families and all the long duration trips and everyone who comes to work at LILA from their families every day, all the time, to work on this thing, it's got to be worth it in some ways that don't really pay attention to all those numbers. But yeah, there's the numbers. Maybe you're a numbers guy. Maybe you're the CEO guy. Those people are super valuable. Don't get me wrong. Everyone plays their role. But at its heart, you have to love it. You have to love it. And sometimes you don't. And so you actually have to be able to suffer through it a little bit too. There's been plenty of times this week and month that I did not like working on my game. And but the goods outweigh those. And so you have to love it. So don't worry about those trends, Think about what you would want to build, and your country song. Like, if you could sing that for free, then it might actually be kind of popular just because of that, right? Like, you're like, hey, I'd do this no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Let's go, giddy up. You know what I'm saying? So watch out for those trendy stuff, and try to do something you love. And if it trends, then all the better. But if you have to do it for nothing, than do it for nothing and go all the way.
All right. Any more questions?
I have a follow-up question. So yeah, coming to the friends as Paul said. So my question is, there are certain type of people who would like to innovate things. For example, mixing of different genres. For example, let's say we know PUBG and we know the claw method, right? Maybe why don't we bring that to platformer and get that kind of immersive experience there? So I'm just giving an example
yeah,
here
for sure.
because I'm trying to do one
Yeah.
just to see how it would impact. So my question to you is, how do you advise us to go about when we think of innovations?
JK, you wanna take this one?
So how do you innovate?
Yes.
Yeah,
So how
different
would
genre, mixing
how,
genre.
so when I mix genres and when I come up with an idea of, let's say, using the claw method basically of PUBG,
Mhm.
getting that into a platformer game, not a 2D, a 3D platformer.
Yeah.
And instead of it's usually side scroller. Instead of that, we go front towards the screen. So in terms of that immersive experience, my question to you is, how would I mean, this is an advice that I'm asking you. How would I go about to gauge this? Will this be a success, or how do
Oh,
we
okay.
go about?
So, I mean, I think I kind of understand what you're talking about when you're trying to take like a control scheme, like the claw scheme, and try to
This is just
adapt
an
that.
example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, so in terms of innovation, I think there's a pretty common approach, which kind of sounds similar to what you're talking about, which is called popularized by the Japanese, called the DNA method, which is basically where you take a certain gameplay and mix it with a different system. And so the DNA is you just cross this gameplay, this system, this gameplay, this system, and then you just kind of mix it up. And that's a very popular methodology for trying to create innovation. And you can, to some degree, you can say that that's an inherent, fundamental, kind of law of nature. I mean, that's how human beings and genetics works, right? Through the crossing of different types of characteristics. But in terms of your specific idea, I would just test it, right? I mean, try to
so
create
how would we? So my question was, any advice on how do we go about it? So let's say I came up
Yeah.
with this idea. Maybe I create a prototype of that,
Yes.
and then how do we gauge it?
Well,
Whether it's a success
okay,
or
so
whether it's a
okay,
good innovation or
yeah.
not.
So so now you're talking about market validation, which is a little bit
Right.
of a different question, but I think that it's an important one. And I think that there are, in my experience, there's three primary methodologies for market validation. So if you think of like almost a pyramid model, there's two methodologies that I associate with a pyramid model, meaning at the top of the pyramid, you're like a god, you're a tastemaker, you're Steve Jobs. And this is very akin to like a company like Blizzard, right? Where Blizzard guys believe that they are the tastemakers. We understand games. What we find fun, everyone will find fun. So that's one approach where if you believe that your taste represents a general market, Steve Jobs believed, I know that this phone, if we put all this crap on it and put it together, is going to be incredible. And so he doesn't really care so much about market validation and research and things like that. So that's kind of like what I would call a top of the pyramid type of validation. And that depends on who are you? Do you know the market? Do you know people? Do you understand things so well that if you believe that what you think is going to be very successful, then you can make that bet, that you have enough conviction that you can bet your future on that, right? The bottom of the pyramid is something I think is more popularized by Riot. So Riot is famous for saying that we are a player-first company. So, they're more famous for taking kind of existing models, like Defense of the Ancient Mod, and then basically making it more generalizable and popular, right? So they'll take that model, they made it more accessible. And then they're constantly engaging their players. How do we make this better? Do you like this? Do you like that? And so that form of market validation really has to do more with really talking to your players. Who are your target players? And so they do also a lot of research on personas and what kind of player they believe will play a certain kind of game. And based upon that, they're engaging with players a lot.
Right. So this is considering that they are known. So what if I am somebody who is unknown? How do I go about and showcase this and get
You don't have friends?
No, I have.
They're not completely.
So you get my point, right?
Yeah, so
So
I
I
mean,
can
I
just
would
get a
I would
limited-
start, but I would take a similar approach. So like, let's say whatever, I don't know what you're making. Let's say that's it's a claw platformer, something, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Then try to think about who would your target player be, and based upon your idea of who that target player is, try to find people like that. You know, you can, like, maybe you're lonely, but you should have enough money to do a Facebook ad test, right? Like where you can try to find people of your particular that fit your demographic, and when you find them, you can, you know, pay them some money to at least show them, you know, ideally a prototype or even wireframes or some kind of mock-up to try and get feedback against what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
So I talked about two different methodologies. Now, the third methodology that that I believe in is really rooted in basically looking at the market. So kind of like what I call market scanning. So that's where you kind of see something achieve product market fit to scale to some degree somewhere, and then you're trying to map that to your platform. And you know, this was you know, we've seen this before where we've had successful games on one platform and then it's adapted to another. And so when you look at games like Clash of Clans from Supercell and Clash Royale, both were kind of existing games on other platforms that didn't quite look like that, but they modified and adapted to mobile. And so that third approach is if you find something that has achieved some level of success on another platform, you're looking at the market, you're looking for indications of success, and then you're trying to think about how do you apply that to your specific game and for your platform. So those are the three primary approaches.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All right, no more questions. Thanks, guys. You can show your game here also. This is a big playtest group. All right, thank you. We'll just take a picture.
Yeah, show you a picture of these beautiful faces. Look at all you guys. You look great. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey guys, so the session might be over, but you are still free to ask questions, and there's food and beverage as well, so don't leave. And the meet and greet will start at 1:30. So I will see you all.